Line, brought to you by Kellogg's. Kellogg's Cereal. The best to you each morning from Kellogg's of Battle Creek. Now let's all play What's My Line?
And now, from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
On my left, the star of the new movie Send Me No Flowers, with Doris Day and Rock Hudson, Mr. Tony Randall.
I am pleased to introduce the most charming star of Broadway's smartest comedy, Beekman Place, now playing at the Morosco Theater, Arlene Francis.
And now one of the most gracious, informed men in the publishing business, the president of Random House, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
A television critic this week was kind enough to call What's My Line one of the tortoise ships that sails the seas of television. And the skipper is the man, I think, who keeps the ill winds from blowing the wrong way. And here is the skipper, old Captain John Charles Daly.
Well, that was very nice, and I must say I was fully in agreement with Arlene when she said that you were one of the most gracious and well-formed publishers. That's what you said, wasn't it? Our well-formed. Don't you think Bennett's a well-formed publisher? I think he's a well-formed publisher. Tony, it's very nice to have you back with us again, and I think we have some very interesting occupations for you to toy with in the next half hour. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before my friends in the panel a little bit later in the program, and we'll meet our first challenger after this word. All right, now to meet our first challenger. Will you enter and sign in, please? Mr. X. How do you do, Mr. X? Nice to see you. You'll be good enough to tell us where you're from, Mr. X.
Los Angeles, California.
Los Angeles, California. Well, may I present the panel, Mr. X? And now, if you'll join me over here, we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, I don't have to dwell on the fact that we have used Mr. X for good and sufficient reason. We will, however, tell you that Mr. X is self-employed and deals in a service, and then I think we ought to begin things with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mr. X, do you work indoors?
No.
One down and 9 to go, Mr. Randall.
There was a congratulatory note or feel in that applause. Have you done something recently that we have read about?
Yes.
Are you in either the world of sports or show business?
Yes.
Is it sports?
Yes.
Were you in Tokyo recently?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Bennett.
Is it an outdoor sport?
Yes.
Does it require quite a lot of dexterity?
No.
Not for you. I bet it would for us.
Yeah, I would think here, Mr. X, with your permission, we will give a yes to that, because I think while you are modest about it, I would consider, for instance, if I had to perform the same functions that I would need dexterity in some large measure. So you go ahead.
Okay. When you are performing in this sport, whatever it is, are you dressed in something less than you are wearing now?
I don't think less.
No, I would think we would have to agree it would be more, just as a rule of thumb. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. X, Do you play on a team rather than appearing solo in the sport in which you engage?
No.
That
No.
makes it 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
So do you play solo something?
Yes.
Do you have to move rather fast to be good at what you do?
Yes.
May I rule out golfing then?
Yes.
May I rule out that any ball is involved in what you do?
Yes.
Do people watch you do what you do?
Yes.
Do you either run or swim?
No.
That's 5 down and 5 to go,
The
Mr.
run or
Randall.
Swim.
Is there a means of conveyance involved?
Yes.
Is it in the air?
No.
That makes it 6 down and 4 to go, Miss Francis.
You're a little larger than I would think, but are you ever on the back of a horse?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. X, is there any kind of vehicle engaged in what you're doing?
Yes,
He
conveyance.
said that.
Conveyance? Would it be an automobile?
Yes.
Are you the man who broke the record and did 527 miles an hour or something?
Dick Boyd. Very good. It is a great pleasure to introduce Mr. Craig Breedlove, who did 526.28 miles per hour on an average on a go-and-come course, right?
Right, too.
Where was the course?
Bonneville, Utah.
And on the second go, as I'm sure you all know, this is supererogation probably at its worst, but he began to get a little bit of fluffle in the wheel, didn't you?
Yes, I lost my steering control about 1.5 miles from the starting line, and then lost my parachutes, and then my brakes, and I made a little excursion into a lake.
He wound up in a crash and wound up in a lake several miles away from the course, but still ran his course and got up and walked away. Did you? No bad bumps or anything, Craig?
No, I skinned my knee getting out of the car, John.
Now, this is great. I read, happily, just happened to be interested this week in something that I saw in a magazine and read the story that you would put all you had into your determination to take the Speed Trophy away from Britain. And then I think Goodyear Tires and Shell Oil came in as your sponsors, and with them you went on and finished up.
That's right.
But when he went on his last leg to break this record, remember, he had lost control of his car to all intents and purposes, and he was going over 500 miles an hour, but stayed with it. You're quite a man, sire. I'm glad you just got a trim knee. Nice to have you with us. Very good, panel. I thought we might stick you with that one for good. Let's see what you can do with the second challenger. Would you enter and sign in, please? Jane Thomas, right? All right. Is it Miss or Mrs. Thomas?
Mrs. Thomas.
Mrs. Thomas, and where are you from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta. Very nice to have you with us, Mrs. Thomas. You have some folks from Atlanta, from Georgia, from the United States, for sure. Mrs. Thomas, may I present the panel? Now, will you join me over here, and we'll let the audience here in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Pardon me, panel. We can tell you that Mrs. Thomas is salaried, deals in a service, and we'll begin with Bennett, Cerf.
Mrs. Thomas, the paper's been full of Atlanta trying to steal the Milwaukee baseball team away from Milwaukee. May I assume you have nothing whatever to do with this plot?
Yes.
Alleged plot.
Second, the big company, of course, in Atlanta is Coca-Cola. May I assume you have nothing to do with Coca-Cola?
Yes.
We've eliminated that. Now, may I ask if your extreme good looks have anything to do with the service that you perform? Do they help you in a material way?
I would think that we would have to agree, Bennett, that, presence is always important and has its impact and effect upon the attitudes which employers might have to the employees' performance.
How long do you think it'll be before John asks for a conference over there?
Any second. Mr. Thomas, have you got anything whatever to do with the entertainment business?
Yes.
Do you perform some way or other before audiences?
Yes.
Is there any music connected with what you do?
Specifically and having direct application to what
Either as
Mrs.
a dancer
Thomas
or
does.
a singer?
Oh, fine. Say no. Do you want to say?
No.
No. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mrs. Thomas, do you perform on television?
Yes.
Do I have to guess something else?
Mm-hmm. Do lots of
Performs
things.
on television. Are you a newscaster?
No. 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Randall.
But in that there seemed to be some association. Do you give some sort of information on the air?
Yes.
Is it something other? Is it weather?
No.
Oh, 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Francis.
Oh, it's not weather.
No.
No. You know what it is, don't you, Bennett?
No, I don't.
Do you appear alone when you appear?
No.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Thomas, have you got anything to do with reporting either news or business affairs?
No.
That makes it 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Are most of your audience members grown-ups rather than children?
Yes.
Do you have anything to do with reporting sports?
Yes.
Are you a sports announcer?
Well, that's a very good question. In a manner of speaking, what I'm going to do is I'll toss these all over.
No conference?
We would have to agree on a general basis, Dorothy, that you have identified it because the activity is all concerned with sports. And in the, I guess you would say, sports announcer or sports reporter. But generally, see if you can really figure out exactly what it is Mrs. Thomas does. Just take a guess running down the line.
Football.
Bowling. What about football, Bennett?
Professional football.
She plays guard, that's right, for the Atlanta.
She reports the games.
Well, no, it's a more particular area. Actually, it's a lot of fun. What Mrs. Thomas does is go on Fridays. She's called Coach Friday on WAGA TV in Atlanta. And she predicts the scores of the football games with Ed Thelenius,
Right,
who is a sports reporter. And then they match out on Saturday and see who wins. And whoever loses has to pay a forfeit, and Mrs. Thomas wins most of the time.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Now, the remarkable thing about it, this is the second year that Mrs. Thomas has been doing it, and before that you had only a very casual interest in football, right? And yet she gets in there every Friday and does a good job of picking the games.
Did she pick the Browns today?
Well, she does. This is college games you
Just
work
college.
with. Oh. And as last week, she was made the honorary coach of Slippery Rock State College football team.
No.
Yeah. And I anticipate, I'm going to do some prognosticating now. I say that with this honorary coach, Slippery Rock State is going to win every game for the rest of the year. And thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. Nice to have you. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from our sponsor. And now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which, as you all know, the panel is blindfolded. Our blindfolds all in place panel?
Yes, sir.
Good. Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? As you know, panel, a different form of questioning, one question at a time in turn, moving clockwise. And we'll begin with Arlene Francis.
Are you represented on the motion picture screens at the present time?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Cerf?
Well, there are three big pictures. I'd like to mention the three pictures and ask you if you have any connection with one of the three. Mary Poppin, My Fair Lady, and the Americanization of Emily. Have you anything to do with one of those three pictures?
Mm-hmm.
Miss Kilgallen?
Have you anything to do with two of them?
Beg pardon?
Have you anything to do with two of them?
Which two?
Well, one star is in two of those three pictures. Emily and Mary Poppins.
That's a girl.
What?
This is a man.
It is?
I think
Well, that's
so.
not established.
I beg your pardon. Well, I asked the question. I guess I get a no.
Well, would you repeat your question, Dorothy?
Just a man.
Do you, by any chance, well, you're closer than I am, Bennett. I couldn't hear very well. Do you, by any chance, appear in two out of the three films that Bennett mentioned?
No, I don't, honey.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Randall.
Have we worked together?
Yes, I'm afraid we have, boy.
Yeah. Miss Francis?
Have we worked together?
I reckon we have, ma'am.
You're heaven, anyway. I do know that. You know what it is?
Sure, it's
Yeah.
James
James
Garner.
Garner.
We all were certain, everyone on the panel was certain it was Julie Andrews.
Yeah. That's exactly why I didn't say anything.
That was good.
It's Oklahoma night here tonight.
It's
That's
Oklahoma.
right.
Hmm?
Old Okie week.
You all want to sing a song? I mean, if you...
Oklahoma fairest daughter of the West?
Yeah, would you want to sing it? Oklahoma Fair
No, I
Daughter?
tried to forget it, Tony. Tony is from Tulsa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm from Norman, Oklahoma. We're old buddies.
Do the people from Norma speak to the people from Tulsa?
Well, yeah, but we speak down to them.
You speak...
The University of Oklahoma.
That's right, yes.
Well, Bennett, we tried to set a trap for you again. This worked before, didn't work tonight, because the Americanization of Emily opens on Tuesday, and we were just hoping you would say, are you playing in a big picture which has just opened? And you didn't do it. You put it another way, so you trapped
We
us.
were all waiting for Julie Andrews to...
I was waiting for James Garner. I don't know about the rest of you.
Well, Jim, I'm sorry we didn't give him more trouble, and I hope this doesn't give you any concern. I don't want to embarrass you, but I've been around this game, television, for a long time. You know that I have not, in all these years, found many people who have the universal respect and affection of their colleagues as you do. Everybody you work with just thinks you're great.
Well,
I do, too.
very
Listen, James, as a special favor, and you started to do it when you answered, do me a little bit of Ma Frickett from...
Oh, Grandma Frickett, she's a wonderful lady, she is. Postcards, you know. When we were working together, of course, Jonathan Winters I love, and I used to imitate him a lot. We had a lot of fun.
It's a wonderful impersonation of Jonathan, though.
Well,
He's hard to imitate. He's
Yeah.
perfect. He got 7 million voices.
That's true.
well, you came in with 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 there in a very
Oh,
short time now, but it didn't work.
I was going to do Walter Brennan and Ronald Coleman and everybody.
You can do them now, Jimmy.
I've forgotten him.
Ronald Coleman.
Ronald Coleman, yes. I remember... Oh, I don't remember.
He's good enough as just James Garner. You're
There.
quite right.
Hey, Brett Maverick. That's the name.
Thank you, Jim. Lovely to have you with me.
Well, you're sharp tonight, panel. And you deserve congratulations, and you get them, and we'll all be back with another contestant after this one. All right, and now a final contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Robert Heiney, right, sir? All right. Mr. Heiney, where are you from, sir?
Fort Plain, New York.
Fort Plain, New York. Nice to have you with us. Mr. Heiney, may I present the panel? Will you join me over here? We'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mr. Heiney is salaried, deals in a product, and we'll begin festivities with Tony Randall.
Mr. Heiney, is this a useful product?
Yes.
There seems to be some risibility about it. Is it a humorously useful product?
No.
No, I wouldn't think so. And actually, let's withdraw the question, because we didn't mean to mislead you there. I think the application of usefulness here would pretty much be subjective, and I think many people would consider it useful in their application of it. Some others might not necessarily think it as useful as others would think it was useful if they did think it was useful.
And now our time is up.
And now our time is up. So you go ahead.
Let me start again. Is this a product that's found in the home?
Yes.
Is it found all over the home, rather than in one?
Yes.
Does it have a decorative aspect?
Yes.
You mean as in relationship to the home, would it be decorative in its application to the home?
That's what I meant.
I can't buy that, no. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss President.
Is this product now, or has it ever been alive?
No, 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Heiney, is there any element of danger connected with it?
No, I don't think we could call it dangerous. 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mr. Heiney, is this something that could be worn?
To be worn?
Worn.
Well, no, that's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Randall.
Is this product, in the larger sense, consumed?
Yes.
Is it consumed by people?
Yes.
By adults, more than children?
Let's put it this way. We couldn't really be sure, could we?
No.
Is it eaten?
Yes.
Yes. Sure it is.
Is it cooked?
No, but I think we are.
Is it cooked? In a manner of speaking.
Yes,
In a manner of speaking. How's that?
I've never got so many yeses in a row since I've been on the show, and I have no idea where I am. I think I'll pass.
Maybe it's brewed.
5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Cerf.
This is a solid, is it not, Mr. Heiney?
Yes.
Is it ever eaten in its raw state?
Yes.
Yeah?
Would it be used more at one meal than another?
No, I'm going to tip it all over. Yeah, have a guess.
Is it eaten by animals more than people?
It's chewing gum. Beech Nut is the company, but... And at Beech Nut, Mr. Heiney is particularly the man who puts the stripes on the chewing gum.
Oh.
So he's
Well, now,
the
you
stripe.
don't eat chewing gum.
Well, we
chew it, but you don't eat it.
Well, you do. Some of it is, some of the content of it is
The sugar is
swallowed, the sugar,
Yes.
etc. Don't start a fight now, Bennett. We haven't got time. Thank you very much, Mr. Heiney. Nice to have you on What's My Line. Well, that was great fun, and nice again, Tony, to have you with us. And good night, Dorothy Kilgallen.
Good night, John. Good night, Tony. Come again soon.
Thank you. Good night, Arlene.
Good night, dear Tony. Have a good time in England.
Thank you.
Good night, Bennett.
Arlene, good night, Skipper.
Skippy.
Whee! Good night, Bennett, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us on What's My Line.
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Todman. If you'd like to attend one of our broadcasts, write to What's My Line, CBS Tickets, 485 Madison Avenue, New York, New York.